Good evening, everybody. My name is Kate Pattison. I'm an employee at Wake Tech, and I'm also a student in the Business Analytics program. My project, I'm going to talk about factors for a successful Twitter account at work. With this particular job at Wake Tech, I started doing a Twitter account, and there's this wonderful thing called Twitter Analytics, and it's free. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story tonight using my Twitter Analytics about my community on Twitter. And I'm not pandering when I tell you all in the room tonight that you are all a part of my community, because we've got folks here who are from various industries that support the program and do data analytics. I have my fellow students here with me, quite a few of them, which is awesome. And then all the folks that I work with at Wake Tech, so there's a lot of familiar faces in the room. Let's see. So my background, I have a BA in anthropology and German, which I did a long, long time ago. And I worked as an archaeologist for 8 years when I got out of college. I currently work as a grant writer at Wake Tech. That involves a lot of project management. I'm also our social media administrator, of course, because I do the Twitter account for our office, which is the Office of Sponsored Programs and Federal Relations. That means we write grants. Last year, in the BAS program, I did the Business Intelligence Certificate. And in December, I will receive the Business Analyst Certificate. So what I did was, I have a Twitter account for our office, and I knew I was generating data all the time through Twitter. And you can get your data for free from Twitter. Anybody who uses a Twitter account can get their data through Twitter Analytics. They make this lovely CSV file. You don't have to web scrape. They actually have the file there for you. So I've thought, well, what are the factors that best predict your chance for being retweeted, right? That's where you get your exposure. So that's what I wanted to study, and that's my Twitter handle, by the way, if anybody out there tweets and they want to know what happens with grants at Wake Tech. So what you get from Twitter Analytics, some of it is not particularly useful if you don't have a paid account, right? So there's all these columns with nothing but zeros because they have to do with a paid account, which I do not have. But then after I got rid of all of that non-information, I had about 5 variables left still. But there were other things that I wanted to know. So I made my own dummy variables. I made a mention where you actually are using someone's handle in the body of your tweet. Hashtag, I think everybody knows what a hashtag is these days. Did I have a link in my tweet or not? Did I have a picture or not? Did I have a video or not? So those were binary variables, because 0 meant no, I did not have those things. 1 means yes, I did have those things. The next thing I did was I ran a test for collinearity, and basically all this is saying is, are there any variables that I'm looking at that are essentially measuring the same thing, like just completely redundant information? And I got rid of those. And then I did a linear regression to find out what the numbers say. And Liz was just talking about the p-value. When you look at the p-value in R, I wanted to look at the p-value because it's showing the worth of my predictor variables. And R gives you this nice little tool where they put an asterisk by the ones that are more significant, and even more asterisks means even more significant, so it helps you just kind of pick those out right away. And with any model, you don't go with the first version. You want to run it, tweak it, change it up a little bit, run it a bunch of times, more changes. So one of the things I did was I created some interactions with my variables. So I actually created a couple of new variables that were a combination, picture and dimension, and video and dimension. And I ran the model again. So my results basically told me that a tweet with a mention and a video gives you the greatest chance of being retweeted. I have my most tweeted tweet, which includes a video and a mention, and people love to point this out to me. It also talks about beer. That was not one of my dummy variables, but I could certainly add that in. The reason I'm talking about beer, I do love craft beer, but also Wake Tech has a brewery technician program. So this is something we do at Wake Tech. And in fact, that's what this video is about. Jeff Levine made that video. So I've got his handle in there. and some Big Boss Brewery, the North Carolina Brewers Craft Guild. So it's got all the right factors. I've got this in poster form out there, and I showed it at the Data for Decisions conference, and I had a couple of people come up to me and say, you know, we just hired some consultants to come in and look at our Twitter data, and they told us basically the same thing. So this is free information for you tonight, no charge. On top of it, I have a bonus for you. If you're gonna use hashtags, use pre-existing hashtags. Like when you make up a hashtag about your trip to Starbucks, no one is gonna retweet that, you are not a celebrity. Go with a known quantity. So I was talking about my community earlier. You know, who's your community on Twitter? So who are the other industries that are doing the same thing? Who are your clients? Who are the other individuals that are interested in the same things as you? Use their hashtags and retweet those. You're gonna have a better chance of being retweeted. The end.